I feel like this is going to be one topic that's going to get me hella roasted, but I also think that it's an important discussion to bring up in regards to the Digimon card game. Naturally, Digimon have ways to protect themselves in the TV shows, whether it be a shield that they carry on their back, or literally one in their hand. Some Digimon have specialized armors that grant them a specific ability. But when translating that to the Digimon card game, Bandai has definitely given a mixed bag of tricks for how Digimon can have some form of protection. Today's video looks at what Bandai has done so far, what is color specific, or in some instances, archetype specific, and what I'd love to see were some decks. This would be the first Digimon that would have the ability to not activate the security effects of option cards it checks when it attacks into security. Considering when you Digivolve into this Digimon that you'd have an extra security check. This Digimon would likely swing into security with 12 or even 13,000 DP, depending on inheritables, and not worry about anything except Omnimon. While this Digimon isn't played much anymore, you can't deny the protection from options and security was a huge benefit when facing the likes of Gaia Force and Cocytus Breath. Bandai would later grant this ability in the form of a red option card called a Delicate Plan. But what other Digimon had protection? What would you categorize as good protection? Even BT2 Diaboromon had protection when it came to battle. The only downside was you had to delete one of your other Diaboromon to prevent it from being deleted in battle. Regrettably, while this protection was useful for battle, it just couldn't hold its own against BT1 Omnimon. Craniumon would be another example of protection that prevented itself, and all of your Digimon with blocker from being deleted by card effects. The problem was, you could still bounce them, or DP reduce them to nothing. Fast forward to BT5, and this would be Bandai's first real example of general protection. Blitz Omnimon would be the first Digimon that had protection from deletion effects and or bounce effects if you trashed the level 6 Digimon from the Digivolution sources. Decks during this time period would try to turbo into this to get that protection. But alas, this was also the set where Lord Nightmon would reign supreme, considering again, you could DP reduce Digimon to nothing. In terms of meta protection, the most used ones at this time were a Delicate Plan, War Greymon, and Blitz Omnimon. But moving into BT6, Bandai would introduce a new methodology of protection for Black, and that is Decoy. Decoy would protect one of your other Digimon at the expense of the Digimon that had it. Meaning if your other Black Digimon would be deleted by a card effect, you can delete this Digimon to prevent that deletion. In the grand scheme of things though, Decoy would be a failure in my mind for the earlier uses, and Gabumon reigned supreme and bounced Digimon, not delete them. For the most part, BT7 recycled elements of protection from previous sets, mainly Aldamon being that BT1 War Greymon for its inheritable, and Doru Greymon for its protection for your stack through your opponent's turn by deletion or DP reduction. And while BT8 introduced Armor Purge, another way preventing your stack from being removed at the expense of the top card of the stack, everything would change when BT9X Record was released. BT9X Record is arguably one of the turning points of the Digimon card game, because X-Antibody Digimon were the Digimon that provided amazing inheritables. This is where cards like Greymon X and Garurumon X would appear for the first time, with subsequent printings of these cards being even more powerful. X-Antibody Digimon in general would start granting some insane protections. Just look at BT11 Metal Greymon X. No DP reduction, no D-Digivolve. Meaning if you combo this with Greymon X, you have protection from bounce and deletion based effects, and with Yu Yakuga, you're unaffected by option cards. While protection would fall predominantly in archetypes, the first generic form of protection arrived for the color blue in the form of Evade. Evade would allow you to suspend the Digimon to prevent it from being deleted, whether it be by battle or card effect. But when it came to DP reduction and bounce, it's still not really a thing. Players would look to splash a red tamer in certain decks like Ulforce Vidramon to utilize a Delicate Plan, while other decks like Mirage would simply go for game in one turn with multiple unsuspends. At times, even Mirage could avoid the mess of security bombs by simply forcing the opponent to add it to their hand. Largely though, come BT13, this is where the first blanket protection effects would be present. No, I'm not talking about Craniumon, who isn't affected by your opponent's Digimon effects. I'm talking about Belphimon Sleep Mode. While true, the first card that would have this effect is Mother D Reaper, Mother D Reaper was your soul engine, much like King Drasil for Royal Knights, and the Gate of Deadly Sins for the Demon Lords. But Belphymon's sleep mode would wake up into Belphymon Rage mode, and because of this, there had to be a way to keep it on board. One key difference about these cards is that they are unaffected by your opponent's effects, period. This means Digimon effects, Tamers, and option cards. One Digimon that is soon to make its appearance once again is Magnamon X. And this Digimon can regain its protection effect each turn once a security is removed. Do keep in mind though that when the security is removed, any security effects will resolve first before Magnamon X regains that protection. So if you attack and an option card like Gaia Force is hit on the first check, Magnamon X would be removed before it's unaffected by card effects. However, a lot of players are going to circumvent this by utilizing the yellow option card, Blinding Ray. At the same time of release in BT13, Yellow would get its first elements of protection in the form of Barrier. While this only protects from deletion by battle, you do have to sacrifice a security to do it. Honestly, Barrier is arguably my least favorite form of protection, because of the cost. At least in my mind, it should protect from pretty much everything if you're giving up a life. And fast forward to BT15, this is where Green would get some of its first protection effects, albeit from Digimon with insectoid traits that are suspended. Generally speaking, when it comes to protection, black cards have a lot of them. Breath of the Gods, for example, gave protection from DP reduction and bounce, while Kongou would provide protection from powerful option cards like Lunky Adistocto or Chaos Degradation from placing your Digimon into security. Even in the current formats in Japan, Purple is getting its own set of protection in the form of Scapegoat. Scapegoat is a new keyword that when a Digimon would be deleted, other than by your effect, delete one of your other Digimon to prevent the deletion. Protection is in some ways necessary for the game's progression. One thing that I like most about the Digimon card game when it comes to its protection elements is that it's typically not everything. While Belphymon Sleep Mode and Mother D Reaper can't attack, ultimately I think my beef is with cards like Magnamon X that can still interact with other cards on board while also gaining all the protection. While also true that Greymon has the most layers of protection, keep in mind, you'd have to commit a lot of memory to have protection from bounce, deletion, de-digivolve, DP reduction, affected by option cards, and being affected by Digimon effects. As to the future of protection-like effects, I personally would like to see more protection effects for other archetypes. For example, green is one of the colors that has the fewest levels of protection. And while Insectoid does lead the charge on it for the moment, plant, vegetation, and fairy archetypes like Bloom Lordmon and Rosemon typically lose out to a simple Crimson Blaze or Death Xmon. Should this archetype have a when digivolving effect that prevents your plant, vegetation, or fairy Digimon from being deleted by card effects while they are suspended? Granted, this wouldn't be a permanent effect and could be a when digivolving effect that procs off of a future Bloom Lordmon. Or what about wider building boards like Aegisdramon and Jumbo Gamamon? Should these archetypes have additional Digimon like Promo Seedramon that can on-play prevent a Digimon without Digivolution sources from being affected by any card effect? The possibilities are endless when it comes to protection in the Digimon card game. I've only scratched the surface on what we currently have, and could have in the future. But what are cards you'd love to see with additional protection? Or do you think protection in the card game has already gone too far? Let me know your thoughts on this topic, because there's always something about this game to think about. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.